Hey everyone, I'm Jason Fitzgerald and you're watching episode 34 of Q&A with Coach. Today we're talking all about recovery and in particular, what to do when you've completely trashed your legs. All right, welcome back to Q&A with Coach. I got a really good question on Twitter the other day from my friend Joel Runyon. Joel is doing some crazy things these days. He's been running ultra marathons all over the world. He's recently completed 7 ultra marathons on 7 continents. So that does mean he ran an ultra on Antarctica. So needless to say, he's not feeling too hot right now. And he sent me a message on Twitter and he said, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on what to do when you've completely trashed your legs. Now, I want to talk about this generally, and then I want to talk about this more specifically to the situation that Joel is finding himself in. So first, let's talk about this a little bit more generally. So there's some really big basics that every runner should follow when they need a lot of recovery. Whether you've just run a really hard workout, a grueling long run, or you've done a race. In other words, you've experienced a lot of stress and you need to recover from that stress. So what is the number one recovery strategy that you have at your disposal? Well, that's easy. It's better than any kind of protein powder, electrolyte drink, compression gear, or foam roller that you buy, and that is sleep. Sleep is when the body does its best job at repairing damaged muscles and helping you get back to a normal level of stress in the body. So first and foremost, no matter if it was a workout, a race, or a long run, get a very good night's sleep. Follow some of the basic principles of good sleep hygiene. Try to make your room as dark as possible. Try to use a sound machine so that you're not being distracted and woken up by a lot of outside sounds. And then of course, get a good mattress, invest in a good mattress. That's one of the best things that you can do as a runner to ensure that you have really good recovery. Now, of course, there's also eat a lot, stay hydrated, avoid any kind of additional high stress experience that you might experience after that really stressful run that you just did. So that's not just physical. Yes, I'm saying don't go race a 5K if you're still recovering from your marathon a week ago. But then also, try to reduce stress at home and at work and elsewhere in your life. Stress is stress. And if your body is having trouble recovering from the running that you're doing, then of course, we need to reduce stress elsewhere in our lives to really help your body recover properly. Okay, so let's give ourselves a little bit of context to this situation. Joel, like I said, ran 7 marathons on 7 continents, but he did 4 of those ultras in 6 weeks and 5 of those ultras in just 3 months. So he just completed this 777 project, which was his big goal, and the goal here was to help build 7 schools in areas that need extra schools for children. So I want to give Joel a plug for this. If you go to, I believe it's 777.impossiblehq.com, you can donate to this cause. I think it's really great. It goes to Pencils of Promise, which is a very highly respected charity. And if you're interested in education in developing countries, this is a really good way to get involved. Joel has successfully built, or is in the process of building, 7 of these schools through this project. So first and foremost, Joel, congratulations. It's such a huge accomplishment, both on the charitable side of things, but then also on the physical side of things. Not everyone is able to do an ultra. Not everyone is able to do 7 of them, and you've done 7 on all of our 7 continents. So that's really impressive. Okay, how do you recover from something this insane? Running 5 ultra marathons in just 3 months. Now, the recovery side of something like this is much more long-term than simply let's make sure we're not running a calorie deficit, get a lot of sleep, stay hydrated, avoid any kind of stressful situation. It's way more long-term than that. So we have to take that stress idea and really apply it to probably a good 4 to 6 week block of time after your last ultra marathon. So in Joel's case, I would say don't do anything physically stressful for 4 to 6 weeks. Now, I'm not saying don't exercise. Of course, you know, people like us, we have to get out there and run. We have to get out there and do something fun and active to stay sane. But if you're coming off of a training block like this, you need to make sure that you're not doing any grueling workouts, really challenging long runs. Probably you want to keep your mileage a little bit lower, your overall workload to be relatively modest, because at this point, we just want to get back into the consistent habit of running regularly without it being too stressful. Because let's face it, Joel's body has been under assault for weeks, and we need to make sure that he's not only physically recovered from that kind of an experience, but also mentally recovered too. And what I'll say to you right now, Joel, is if you don't want to run, then don't go running. It's really important for you to want to go exercise again. So the mental side of things, I think, is just as important as the physical. Now, the other thing that I would say is for at least a month afterwards, you should prioritize fun. Just do fun things, whether that's a game of flag football with your friends. Try not to make it too super intense, especially if it's just within a week or two of your last ultra. But whatever you find to be very fun, whatever just gets you excited, go do that. Go prioritize that rather than formal training. Because right now, we just need to get you back into the consistent habit of exercising regularly without it being too structured. Now, the other thing I'll say too is prioritize something other than running. So if you really like cycling, if you really like frisbee golf, whatever it might be, go do that instead. As long as you're staying active, that's fine. You're not really going to cut into your future training. You're not really going to jeopardize any kind of fitness gains that you've gotten from all the training and racing you've done. So for at least 4 weeks, preferably 6, your exercise should be fun. It should be something that you really like to do, that you want to do. Hopefully something other than running and nothing too intense. Now, finally, this is the last thing that I'll say. So the physical recovery stuff, we kind of know that. It's kind of RICE, rest, ice, compression, elevation, taken to a new level. And then there's the training focus after the ultra marathons that you're doing, Joel. And then finally, do something else. Once you get back into formal training, once you're targeting your next goal, I know that you love impossible goals, but one thing I'll say is let's stay away from ultra marathons for a little while, at least a season. At least your next goal should not be an ultra. I would love to see you run the fastest mile that you can do, or maybe even a 5K. As long as you're training for a different type of running challenge, then let's face it, running fitness is running fitness, whether or not you're training for a 50K, a 5K, or a mile. They transfer very well to each other. So as long as you're targeting something very different, that means you're doing very different training. That means you're not doing those same long runs over and over again, like I'm sure you were for your ultra marathon 777 project. So you really can focus on something totally different, but you're still going to be using the fitness that you've gained. You're going to really be able to transfer that well to the training that you might do in the future. And really that's what I think you should be doing right now for your training, Joel. Do something different, do something fun. Don't have any expectations on yourself over the next couple weeks, and you should be recovered. You should be mentally in a very good spot, and then you should be well on your way to accomplishing whatever the next goal is that you might have. All right, guys, that's Q&A with Coach, episode 34. Joel, thanks so much for hitting me up on Twitter with your question. If you're watching this and you want your question answered, I'm happy to do so. Just hit me up on Twitter. My handle is JasonFitz1. You can also find us on Facebook. We're at Strength Running, so I'm pretty sure it's just facebook.com/strengthrunning, and I'm pretty responsive on social media. So if you have a question, feel free to find me and ask me your question, and I'm happy to help you out. Thanks for watching. Until next time.